Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be the oldest in the family and your mother become paralyzed from a car accident? My name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I am the owner and the CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know working from their computers around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told that you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy. Our special guest today is Sequisa Givens. Sequisa Givens is an adult geriatric nurse practitioner, board certified by the American Academy of Nurse Practitioners. She is a member of Texas Nurse Practitioners, American Nurses Association, and Delta Sigma Theta. She is also the author of the book No Colored Nursing and the owner of Above Average Health and House Calls, which has two locations in DFW and Carthage, Texas. She is also the owner of an online store and accountability and confidence coach, online course creator, social media influencer, and a motivational speaker. So welcome, Sequisa, the
Thanks for
Texas
having me.
NP. I love it. I love it. I love when that first day that you came into the room and you were like, "Yep, Sequisa, the Texas MP." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna like her for real." So now you told me that when we were talking that your mom was involved in the car accident when you were 7.
Yes,
And I know that 7 is young. Do you remember what your first feelings were when you first found out about your mom, and were you able to understand the gravity of what it meant for you and for her? Once you found
I,
out she was paralyzed.
of course, at 7, I didn't realize like exactly what was going on. I knew that things had changed and they would never be the same again. But as far as knowing how her accident would impact the rest of my life, no, I didn't. I had no idea that it would help me develop the love that would, take care of my family for the rest of my life.
I love it. I love it. Now you decided that you wanted to go into nursing because of the care for your mom received, right? And so tell us about an incident that formed how you looked at nursing.
I remember the very first time I decided I wanted to be a nurse. My mom was in the hospital, and I was spending the night with her on the cot, and her IV pump kept beeping. And the nurse came in and she said, "I'm sorry, I thought I had timed it where it didn't wake you up." And then she did something like this to the machine and changed the bag, and she threw it over her shoulder, and it looked like magic to me. And like that is when I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. I think it was between the kindness, that she apologized that she woke me up because it had been a long day, and the fact that she was able to do that, like that really fascinated me. So from that point on, because she had nurses coming in and out of the home every day, every week. We had caregivers coming in, and we had nurses, once a week. So I started paying attention to what they were doing, and that's kind of how I navigated toward nursing.
I love it. I love it. And this is important as well. It just that courtesy, right?
Right.
Behind being a nurse. And I many, many times I just kind of sit back, especially as a nurse at this point, and just kind of look and just kind of see, what because people don't really care how much they know unless they know how much you care, right?
That's
And I
true.
remember working at a hospital, and this wasn't a nurse, but this was a physician, and he would come in, and he wasn't all that. He wasn't a great physician. I mean, just honest it. And I knew that, right? I
Right.
knew that he wasn't all that great because I knew, the knowledge base that he should have had as a physician. But he was absolutely phenomenal to his patients.
Right.
And let me tell you something. It was like they would come in there, like they would come from all across the state to see this man because of his bedside manner. And
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, okay. And so I think that's one of the reasons why patient satisfaction scores is such a big thing, right?
Mhm.
Because, if you think that you're taking good care of, then, and sometimes, a lot of times, it improves your outcomes. Now, you said that you developed a love for education and motivating Black and Brown people. Where did this motivation come from?
I honestly don't know. I've just always been drawn to educating those that need it. And I've always wanted to put myself in a position where I can help those that others don't help. And as a home health nurse, I noticed that depending on what zip code you lived in, that really determined on the amount and level of care that you got. And I noticed that certain patients were rushed in and rushed out, and others, had that extra time that they needed. So I decided that I wanted to base my career in those that didn't get that extra care, because I knew that if I centered myself there, then it would be appreciated because they didn't get it anywhere else. And that's where the name above average came from, because I feel like I give above average care to those that really need it. And I mean, it's required. We really don't get good care.
That's right. That's right. And
Oh,
I think is, one of the things that we have to be very intuitive about, especially as nurses, which you're in the NP role at this moment.
mhm.
But, as nurses, it's a whole different ballgame when it comes to making sure that our patients, and advocating for our
Yes.
patients, and making sure that our patients are taken care of. I remember one time this physician, I mean, and it was a patient who had just found out she was pregnant. And so he wanted to give her this medication. And I knew the medication. I didn't really understand why he was giving it, because in the emergency department, you kind of, most people kind of give typically the same old drugs, right?
Right.
And so he was given this medication, and it was a pregnancy category D drug. And she was a young girl who was pregnant, first time pregnant. And I said, no, I said, and I had a nursing student with me at that time, and I said, look, I said, this is the way we're going to handle this. I said, because this is a pregnancy category D drug. I said, what I'm going to say, I said, so I'm non-confrontational. I said, is I don't feel comfortable giving that drug because it's a pregnancy category D drug, which I shouldn't be educating him on that, but whatever. It is what it is.
That's a
And
hard.
so, so I said, okay. And so he came over and he was like, well, the benefits outweigh the risk. I said, no, I don't feel comfortable giving it. And I said, and what I told the nursing student at that time, I said, this is the deal. I said, I'm not going to give it. He doesn't have access to the Omnicell. I said, and so he can't give it himself. I said, so, and if he knows that if he goes to another person and he asks that other person to give that drug, then that other person is going to ask, well, why didn't Viola give it?
Hmm.
Why are you coming to me asking me, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to stand up for your patients, right? And say, I'm not going to give it. And so I said, okay, I'm just not, I don't feel comfortable giving that. And that's not what we're going to do. So you can find out another drug, or,
Right.
we can, because the reality is that she had lower abdominal pain. And the reality is that she probably had some round ligament pain. She's just a small girl. She just found out she was pregnant, right? And so anyway, it's just being that advocate for your patient, for sure. Now you're an NP. Now, what was your motivation for going back to school to obtain this higher degree?
Everyone told me that I should. Throughout my entire career as an LVN, as an RN, people kept telling me that I should go back to be a nurse practitioner. And at first, I didn't even know what it was the first time I heard it. I had a back injury at the hospital that I worked in. And so they made me the LVN for a doctor's office. And the doctor would go in to see the patients and they would talk. And I just, came up with this game where I would try to guess what labs she should order. And so when she would come out, I would show them to her. And sometimes, she would add some or subtract some. And she kept saying, you would probably make a good NP. You should try it. And I didn't, I brushed it off. And then I started working in the house, home health. And, like I said before, I called the doctors and I said, well, maybe we should do this, this, and this. And then they said, maybe you should try NP. So I started thinking, if they keep saying it, maybe there's something to this. And so I applied and I got in, and the rest is history.
I think it's interesting that you said that you guessed, just played a game and guessed what they would order. And, and that's what you do a lot of times. And
Yeah.
that's what I did a lot of times in the emergency department anyway. And I didn't think about it like that I
Right.
was playing a guessing game. But you're right. You do that. Now, you said that you talk with your patients about self-love. Why do you think that this is an important topic for you to discuss with your patients?
I really think that it's important, especially now with the pandemic and everything, because my telemedicine practice, the number one call I get is depression and anxiety. And so one of the first things I ask them is like, what is your self-care routine? Because we get so much piled up on us every day that we have to find some type of way to decompress. And if you don't have something that gives you some joy and some happiness to let you release all that negativity, it's going to pile up on you. And 9 times out of 10, when I ask them what is their self-care routine, they don't have one. So we formulate a plan for them to have one. And when they call me back the next month, they said that their level or their quality of life has really improved just by picking a day of the week to go get, a pedicure, manicure, or whatever, your self-care routine is. For me, I bubble baths, like on Sundays in my bathroom with the door locked. Don't nobody come knock on the door. I need some time.
Not the
Like,
dough.
it's
Not the
myself.
dough.
Right. And I work 6 days a week. So I got to have one day to myself.
I love it. And
Right.
that's what I do as well on Sundays is pretty much my day. I'm very, intentional about it to make sure that you do. And I think as well, a lot of times we think of like exercise. We think of exercise as something that, it's not providing that self-love, but it really is providing that
Mhm.
self-love. And it was so funny because I changed my message on my answering machine, and the message on my answering machine was about putting the oxygen mask on yourself as opposed to
Oh,
putting it on other people, right? And it was so funny because I just changed it, I don't know, maybe 2 3 weeks ago, about a couple of weeks ago. And yet, like yesterday, I got all these messages and they were like, I love your voicemail. And I was like, well, let me go back and find out what I said. And it was about self-love because
right.
we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves. We're so intuitive, especially as nurses, putting the
Yes.
oxygen mask on everybody else. No,
Right. I
we
actually
need to
said
put.
that in a presentation that I did last week for caregivers. I,
Uh-huh.
I told them, I said, when you get on the plane, the stewardess tells you that they fall, you have to put it on yourself. I said, they must have known that there was a bunch of caregivers on the plane when they said that, because that's the first thing we're going to do is try to put it on everybody else. And if you're not okay, then they're not okay. So you have to make sure that you take care of yourself first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, that is my saying. I say that all the time. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So Sundays is my day where I fill my cup back up, because it gets hard sometimes.
It does, it does. And and I tell the story about me being on a plane as well with my little girl, who I thought was the cutest thing in the world, but I hated pregnancy. Hated pregnancy. And then we got on this plane and this lady talking about putting an oxygen mask on myself. I was like, she'll understand. I don't like pregnancy. I'm not gonna have another one of these children, okay? Although I did. But I'm not gonna have another one of these children. I'm gonna put it on her first because I can't live without her, right?
Mhm.
But the reality is that she knew what she was talking about, and I should have just listened to her. I feel like she should have given me an explanation, but I don't think she had time for that.
Right.
Now you have a book. Now, what was your motivation for writing a book, and what is it about?
The motivation for writing the book, I was a member of a group on Facebook, and I kept seeing like new nurses and young nurses talk about having to deal with the differences between them and everybody else. And some of them were even questioning if nursing was the field for them. So I would go to my husband and I'd be like, I tell him the story and I'll say, this happened to me and this happened to me. And then I went to him one day and I told him, I was getting ready to tell him a story, and he stopped me. And he said, you've told me this story several times. Maybe you should write a book. And so I said, okay. So I went in my office on Friday. When I came out on Monday, I was finished with the book. I just had to do the editing and the proofreading. Like, I wrote the book in 3 days. But it's really
Wow.
the purpose of the book was to help other nurses to not feel alone and to realize that, there's ways to get through it. And I end each chapter with the same 2 words, lesson learned, because I wanted to give them the lesson that taught me so they won't have to go through it themselves before they get that lesson.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that you in 3 days you done wrote a book. I mean, I'm finding out to write a book in 3 years. But anyway, we're gonna have a conversation,
Yeah.
okay? So that you can tell me how to write a book in 3 days. Now, so tell me, what is a book that has impacted your life and why was it so impactful?
You know, I really don't have one particular book. When I grew up, my mother encouraged me to read. So I would always look for Black authors like Terry McMillan, Eric Jerome Dickey, Sister Soldier. It was just seeing their faces on the back of the book was like motivation for me to let me know
Ah,
that there is more possible than what they taught us in school and what they showed us. So I think it was just seeing so many Black authors on those books. I think that was what really motivated me and made me want to be greater.
I love it. I love it. And I think that that's so true, because representation is everything.
Right.
And you decided to open up your own practice.
Yes.
What were some of the challenges for opening up your own
Oh
practice?
my goodness. The biggest challenge for opening up my own practice was there was nobody to bounce ideas off of. Like I
Ah,
was on an island by myself and I had to figure it all out because those that knew either wouldn't or couldn't, share information. And it was really hard seeing the fact that as a brown woman, trying to get assistance from other brown women was non existent. Because I remember I met another NP. I think she was out of DeSoto, and we were having a conversation because we both were opening up our practices. And she made the comment that, well, you're in Carthage, and so you probably won't have the issue. And I was like, no, I'm from Carthage, but I'm here in Dallas. That was the last time I spoke to her. Like, she never returned any calls. She blocked me on Facebook. So the biggest issue was really having to figure it out for myself without any guidance. So I hit a lot of potholes. I ran into a lot of con artists, but I kind of figured it out after a while. And what I did was, instead of letting those things get to me, I tried to figure out the lesson that I was supposed to be taught through that. Like, I had someone rip me off, so I learned you have to do your research. And then when I had a doctor who actually approached me and wanted to do allergy clinics, so I did the allergy testing, and
hmm
insurance pays very good for that. And he kept promising me that he would pay me. And then when it came time to get paid, he said he did not get reimbursed. And I guess he forgot that I could look and see. And I
hmm
saw that he had gotten paid. So what the lesson I got from that was, get your money up front. So it's like, with every scam artist or every failure that I had, I made sure that I learned something from it instead of letting it get me down.
And I love that because, Patricia Washington always says, and I always say as well, things don't happen for you. I mean, they don't happen to you, they happen for you, right? And the reality is that, we all have to understand that there are challenges in opening up your business. There are challenges in becoming a nurse. There are challenges in everything that you do. But once you understand, like you said in your book, what are the lessons that I learned from this? What can I gain from this? What knowledge do I get from this? That's a game changer. It's a game changer because it changes your perspective. Your perspective can be either your prison or your passport. So you can sit in that minutia
I
and
like
you
that.
can say either I'm the victim, or you can say that I'm the victor, right?
Right.
And in everything, because God says that He would do exceedingly abundantly, but more than we could ask or think, right? The reality is that we are the victors. At the end of the day, we always win, right? No matter what we go through. And so that literally has changed my life. So I love that, you didn't let that stop you from your greater purpose, because obviously you're rocking it out. So I love it.
I really appreciate now, because when you're going through something, you don't realize that it's for a purpose. And there are things now that I sit back, I say, oh, that's why you had me go through that back then, so I be prepared now. So sometimes we have to realize that things that we're going through is really building our muscle for what God has planned for us later in the future. Because I cannot tell you how many times I have avoided roadblocks now, that because I learned my lesson when it happened to me the first time. It's kind of like a woman that keeps dating the same kind of man. You keep getting the same man because you ain't learned your lesson from the last one. So it's kind of
Definition of insanity: doing the same
right.
thing, expecting a different result.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. You just have to change, right? And you have to learn from that. And that is huge. It's life is just ever learning. And one of the things that I think that a lot of people don't understand is that once we step outside the school arena, and we're still learning. You're
Yes.
still learning. You're
I think
still
it
stretching
starts
yourself.
when you graduate. I think school teaches you how to pass the test. And
Right.
then when you get out, that's when you really learn how to be a nurse. And that's why when I mentor the nursing students that follow me, I tell them like your first job is really the most important. And when you go into that interview, you have to remember that they're not just interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. You want to ask them how much training do you get? Do you get to train from different nurses? Do they, pay for your CEUs? How like you really can't just be quiet and expect, them to give you everything, especially if it's your first job, because you don't want to work your butt off and then get thrown in a job where they just throw you out there and then you end up losing your license. So you always have to make sure that you are in an environment of learning, especially the first one, because you're building your foundation as a nurse.
And you really have to know as well that whenever you have that time that you are in that first job, understanding that, it's because I think that, and I've always said this too, that it's losing my first job. I mean, it's losing my license. I'm scared of losing my license. But the reality as well is that nursing can be scary because it's about harming the patient as well.
Yeah.
Huge, huge, huge. Now, you have several paid speaking gigs coming up, okay? Now, what is some advice that you would give someone who is going into speaking for the first time and how to turn exposure, i.e., no monetary compensation engagements, into paid speaking engagements?
Well, I actually paid for a course that taught me how to do it. I think Lisa Noble's course I paid. And one of the things that she recommended was that you first, of course, you have to volunteer to kind of get your feet wet. And then after you volunteer, then you go and ask for a reference letter and then send that out to other places. Because I actually started doing speaking engagements, for fun. And I was asked to go and speak at a church. And after they, presented me with a check, and I was like, oh wait, I can get paid for this? Okay, let's look into this, a little bit more. Because I really enjoy educating people, and I really enjoy, being able to give them knowledge that they would not have gotten if they had not have come to speak, listen to me. So when I found out that I can get paid for it, and then I could travel, what? I'm excited about where it's going, and I've kind of switched gears. Now I'm more focused on the schools because I'm seeing a lot of the young kids are lost. Like they don't have any guidance. They don't have anyone they can look up to. And to see a brown person wearing a white coat that her name is on both sides. I have my name with my letters behind it and then the name of the business. Both of those names are mine. So to see that and let them see that that's possible, and that to let them know that their future can be beyond the neighborhood that they're in, it's really empowering to me to empower others. I love doing it. I have, I think I go to 2 schools next week. So I'm really excited.
So now, did they seek you out or you sought them out?
I just put the word out that I was, looking for schools to get into, and then the offers just started coming.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, and you said Lisa Nobles?
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to
I
look
think it
her
was
up.
the Ultimate Speak. I can't remember the name. It was years ago. And I don't know why, but something just kept telling me to purchase it because she had a special, and it's
Uh-huh.
something that said purchase it, purchase it, purchase it. And so I bought it, and then I started, and then they got to the part where they said, well, you speak from the stage, and that's when you're supposed to, talk about your book and talk about this stuff to sell. And I was like, oh, I don't have nothing to sell. So I kind of stopped. And then I wrote the book and I started the book camp. And I was like, wait a minute, now I got something to sell. Maybe I need to sell it and see what she's talking about. So it was really, it's fun to bring it all together.
I love it. So, someone on Facebook say, kudos to Miss Gibbons. I love it.
Thank you.
So now, where can the audience find you?
Well, right now they can find me on. I spend a lot of my time on Facebook. I'm trying to get on. I'm on Instagram, but not as much. And I'm trying to get my niece to teach me how to do TikTok because I'm trying to get that blue check. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet, so that's coming. But I'm on Facebook as Sequisa Gibbons AGNP-C, and I'm Sequisa the Texas NP on Instagram. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's been a struggle. So I'm about to do a YouTube channel focused on my weight loss journey because
Okay.
I was 238 pounds and I got down to 203 pounds before the pandemic, but I'm back up to 230. So I'm
Gotcha.
starting over. So I think I decided I was going to, put it on the YouTube channel so people can come with me. I've already shared like some meatless recipes on there. And that's really turn it into something I'm excited about, because I got to get rid of these roles. I'm trying to get TV ready.
Because you're gonna be on TV, my
Yes.
friend. I love it. I love it. I love
But if
it.
they're in East Texas, May 8th, they can come out to the Black Girl Magic Festival. I'm a speaker there, and I also have a boss panel where I have some women from East Texas that are all bosses in their own lane, and we're going to be talking about some of the difficulties of being a boss, and giving them some keys and some pointers on how to level up in their business.
I love my husband. He's commenting. He said, "Please talk to her about getting your book started." I love
But
it.
first, you have to set a deadline. Like, I'm gonna have
Yes.
chapter 1 done by this day.
I'm gonna pray
And
about
schedule
it
some time
to
and
get it done.
Yeah.
So now, one of the things that I wanted to tell you too, so all you have that content that's on Facebook. You just download that content. Do you put that on IG?
I don't. I really don't. And I have 6,000 followers on Instagram. How or where they came from, I don't know. But I'm hardly on Instagram. Sometimes I'll be, oh wait, I got Instagram too, and I would share stuff over there. But the majority of it is on Facebook, because I do the motivational Mondays, the business tip Tuesdays, and I do the woman to woman Wednesdays. And I was doing keep it funky Fridays, but by Friday I was tapped out. But I'm gonna start doing
Well,
those.
once you do once you do the content, like once you do whatever you're doing on Facebook, you can download that video and repurpose the content. You repurpose the content, you put it on Instagram, and then you put it on YouTube as well.
Okay.
And then you put it on Twitter. And then you're good.
On Twitter. Well, I was on Twitter, but Twitter's kind of where I would go to vent about things. So I didn't want to have that associated with my business. So I'm on Twitter, but it's on a different name. So
I understand. But yeah, it does work for sure. Once I learned that download and then just repurpose it and put it on IGTV, I was like, oh, we can keep doing that right there.
Because I think IGTV is fairly new, because before you could only do like a minute, and that was it.
Right.
So
but you can do much more than that now. And so I literally take the content, I take the video, and I pull it, I download it to my phone. I do mine on my phone, right? So I download it to my phone, and then I repurpose the content. Once it's on my phone, so I have all Apple products, right? So it downloads to my computer as well. And so once it downloads to my computer, I take the content and then I drag it to IGTV on the website, the actual website. And so it works really, really well. So I love it. Yes. So anyway, thank you for coming today. We had a good time, as I knew we would. So my name is
get me up and dressed at 6.
Well, you said that you were up. You just said that you didn't have a full face on. Is what you
said. I'm out the bonnet with the jewelry on, like at 6 o'clock.
So my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I'm the owner and CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer, and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage knowledge that they already know, working from their computers around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 in Dallas, to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders such as Sequisa, the Texas MP, who have overcome, so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 12-week course, VP Nursing Business Academy. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day.